Hello, and welcome to this session on how to get a 5 minute call when you reach out to the companies that you want to get a call from. I am Arun Singhal, your coach and mentor with 40 years of experience in talent development. What are we going to do today? The purpose of this module is to give you again an in-depth insight into how can you reach out to these companies for a 5 minute call, which can help you ultimately to get a call for the interview for a role that you want. So, Ed, what will you learn at the end of this module? First, you will again understand why is it important to get that 5 minute call. Why not try and get a call for the interview? Then we will look at what is it that you do today. How do you get this first contact established with your recruiter? Then I'll talk to you as we have done in the previous modules. What should you do? What is an ideal process? What is the process that has been proven to work for most of the people? And then we will look at what does this 5 minute call can really look like for you and for the recruiter. All right, ready to go? Wonderful. So why get a 5 minute call? See, let's understand this again. Getting a interview call is a business to business sales process. You are talking to a recruiter and getting an appointment to get interviewed so that you can get selected. So, in a way, what you're doing, you're selling yourself. You're selling ultimately for the interview call, but initially through a step of getting a 5 minute call. Because this B2B sales process is a two-step process. It's like getting a ship into the harbor. And if you want to get a ship into harbor, what do you have to do? You have to first throw a line that can connect with the ship. And then you pull with all your might the ship into the harbor. So it's a first step. And in the first step, what you do is to get this 5 minute call where you establish a quick rapport with the recruiter and an understanding of how would he or she like to move further through an understanding of the requirements. So we connect, we build rapport, and then we understand the requirements and get an agreement. Oh, ma'am, sir, how do you think we should move forward in this whole process? You try any attempt to skip this process completely leads to abortion of this process. This process becomes stops dead actually. People have tried directly to sell, directly to get interviewed, and that doesn't seem to be working at all. And that's been proven worldwide. So let's look at what do you do today to get to connect with your recruiters first. And let's look at the process that you have. Think about it. Required piece of note down on a piece of paper, and then let's tally notes with what I think I found the current processes are and what you think are the current process. All right, so ready to look at what I think are the current processes of connecting with the recruiter? Most of us don't even try to get this 5 minute call. What we do is we directly jump to selling a candidature. And we shut off the recruiter with a very poor response rate. Because the recruiters get such requests to get hired, to hire me from thousands of people. So they kind of, you could even say they're sick and tired of this whole process and they would like something very different because recruiters also finally human beings, right? And they would respond favorably to people that they like. They will also like to work with people who understand the requirements rather than pushing their own candidature. And in fact, they don't being like pushed at all and would like to work at their own pace like any of us, right? Do you like to be pushed? If you want to do some work, would you like someone breathing down your neck and saying, "Hey, hire me, get me, do this"? Instead of they will say, "Okay, ma'am, sir, how would you like to do this? How can I help you?" And you're going to start liking that person. So that's the current process that we have. We directly jump to selling a candidature, and in the process, put off the recruiter because they don't like us. They think we are impatient and they say, hey, this guy is a pain in the you know where, and I'm going to stop. Right? So how should we do this? How should we reach out to these target companies? The way I'm suggesting is that you should first collect. You have a list of, by now you have your ammunition ready, right? You have list of companies that you want to reach out. You know what roles do you want to reach out for, and you have a value proposition. So first thing would be to collect the contact details of the companies that you want to connect to. You could collect an email ID, phone number, or you could go to the LinkedIn page of the company recruiter, search for the people you think are the right people in the HR department. Typically, you will find them with the designations of talent acquisition managers. There may be many people, and it may be good to collect the names, email ID of all those people and connect with them in the LinkedIn page. Then what you do is once you know who's the person that you're going to talk to and you have his contact number either through on a LinkedIn page or email or phone, what you do is you send out a small message. If it is LinkedIn, you need to send a message in the 300 characters with a request to connect, in which you do that small summary of your value proposition. And that's where the value proposition starts coming in handy. And you start saying something like this. If you're sending a connection request to me, within 300 characters, you'll say, hey, Arun sir, I understand you're looking for an experienced software testing professional who can test the software, develop and debug. I'm an experienced software testing professional who can debug software, develop and ensure faster rollout of these because I've been working for 6 years in doing so at Oracle India. Can you give me 5 minutes of time to connect with you so that I can see how can I help you acquire such talent? And you'll have to tweak this message. Emails, you can send this little bigger. WhatsApp messages, don't try because you can get blocked. Normal text messages, you can send it because again, you don't have a limitation. LinkedIn, you have limitation of 300 characters for the request. If you have a premium connection on LinkedIn, you can send through email, longer messages also. So remember, brevity is important. And then we wait for a week. Now, if you don't get a response, then remember we developed 6 value propositions. The possibility is either the recruiter is very busy or the message that you have sent out hasn't struck chord with that person, right? So what you need to do is, okay, this message, this advertising message that I've sent for myself is not working. So I need to try your second value proposition. Now, it might be a bit of a challenge doing this on LinkedIn because you send a connection request, but if you have a premium account, you'll be able to do it many times. And if you have email or a phone on which you are sending out the messages, there's no limitation. So send out these messages and wait. Patience is of great virtue here. And try such 6 attempts. After 6, you can keep your contacts that you've got into 2 categories. People who have not responded because they don't seem to have what you need or where you think you can help them. Or you might get some of this. It is said that 6 is a magic number for trying. If you try a thing for 6 times, and if there's a great chance that you'll get successful in getting that, while there's a possibility that you may not get any response also. So, what could getting a 5-minute call look like? Getting a 5-minute call, guys and girls, is if you can get that 5-minute call, you should congratulate yourself for having half the job done well. You're halfway there. Because the very fact that the recruiter is interested, is giving you 5 minutes time, is he or she is interested. He would like to understand what is this guy talking about? What has he got to offer me? And he has kind of liked you so far in the process, but because of your politeness, because of the message that you sent out, and because of the patience that you have had. And maybe because of the multiple messages that you sent separately after a week. So what did we learn in this module? Let's recap. So what we learned in this module is that most of us jump to selling a candidature directly through a CV and following up with an interview call. And we are very impatient in that. We send a CV and next day probably we start telling, hey ma'am, I sent my CV. When can I get an interview call? And that's normally a direct selling process which doesn't work, which shuts off the recruiter. And this process is not effective because it puts off the recruiter. We need to consider, instead of directly selling our candidature, to throwing that line to the ship to pull with all might later on into the harbor, to get that 5-minute call with an objective, not to sell a candidature, but to build a quick rapport. Rapport is the most important thing. Get an understanding of the requirement and agree on a way forward. See, most of the recruiters or buyers for that matter, here the recruiter is buying your talent, you, right? Most of the buyers are very afraid of people who come and approach them, because they have seen people who are very pushy. They have seen people who keep following up very strongly. So, and they would be happy to work with a person who is patient, who understands their needs, who tries to understand the needs, and who's willing to work at the speed that they would like to work. The recruiters would like to work. So we now know what that a 5 minute call is. Getting a 5 minute call is halfway well done, and it can convert in an interview call if handled with tact and patience. Please understand, tact and patience are two paramount of paramount importance. Right. So where do we go from here? So we in the 7 step process we have now completed understanding of how to do the 5 steps. We started with identifying the strengths. We know how to identify a couple of suitable roles. We have identified the target companies. We have a value proposition, which is our advertising message, and we know how to reach out to this company through a 5 minute call or a meet. Right? I forgot to tell you about the meeting, but if you can get a meeting, that's nothing like it, because one-to-one persuasion meeting has a lot more rapport building possibilities than only a telephone call or a video call. What we will do in the next module is we will see how to do this 5 minute call so well that you have a significant probability of getting a interview call later in life. So thank you so much again for watching this module for how to get reach out to the companies through a 5 minute call, and on the way to getting your interview call, and look forward to meeting you again in the next session. Thank you so much.